Leviticus chapter 19. Yahweh spoke to Moses and said, Speak to the whole community of Israelites and say, Be holy, for I, Yahweh your God, am holy. Each of you will respect father and mother. And you will keep my Sabbaths. I am Yahweh your God. Do not turn to idols and do not cast metal gods for yourselves. I am Yahweh your God. If you offer a communion sacrifice to Yahweh, make it in such a way as to be acceptable. It must be eaten the same day or the day after. Whatever is left on the third day must be burnt. If eaten on the third day, it would be rotten food and not be acceptable. Anyone who eats it must bear the consequences of this guilt. Having profaned Yahweh's holiness, that person will be outlawed from his people. When you reap the harvest of your land, you will not reap to the very edges of the field, nor will you gather the gleanings of the harvest, nor will you strip your vineyard bare, nor pick up the fallen grapes. You will leave them for the poor and the stranger. I am Yahweh your God. You will not steal, nor deal deceitfully or fraudulently with your fellow citizen. You will not swear by my name with intent to deceive and thus profane the name of your God. I am Yahweh. You will not exploit or rob your fellow. You will not keep back the laborer's wage until next morning. You will not curse the dumb or put an obstacle in the way of the blind, but will fear your God. I am Yahweh. You will not be unjust in administering justice. You will neither be partial to the poor nor overawed by the great, but will administer justice to your fellow citizen justly. You will not go about slandering your own family, nor will you put your neighbor's life in jeopardy. I am Yahweh. You will not harbor hatred for your brother. You will reprove your fellow countrymen firmly and thus avoid burdening yourself with a sin. You will not exact vengeance on, or bear any sort of grudge against, the members of your race, but will love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yahweh. You will keep my laws. You will not mate your cattle with those of another kind. You will not sow two kinds of grain in your field. You will not wear a garment made from two kinds of fabric. If someone has intercourse with a woman who is the concubine slave of a man from whom she has not been redeemed and she has not been given her freedom, he will be liable for a fine, but they will not incur death, since she was not a free woman. He will bring a sacrifice of reparation for Yahweh to the entrance of the tent of meeting. This will be a ram of reparation, and with the ram of reparation the priest will perform the rite of expiation for him before Yahweh for the sin committed, and the sin he has committed will be forgiven. Once you have entered the country and planted any kind of fruit tree, you will regard its fruit as uncircumcised. For 3 years you will count it as uncircumcised and it will not be eaten. In the 4th year, all its fruit will be consecrated to Yahweh in a feast of praise, and in the 5th year you may eat its fruit, so that it may yield you even more. I am Yahweh your God. You will eat nothing with blood in it. You will not practice divination or magic. You will not round off your hair at the edges or trim the edges of your beard. You will not gash your bodies when someone dies, and you will not tattoo yourselves. I am Yahweh. Do not profane your daughter by making her a prostitute, or the country itself will become prostituted and filled with incest. You will keep my Sabbaths and revere my sanctuary. I am Yahweh. Do not have recourse to the spirits of the dead or to magicians, they will defile you. I, Yahweh, am your God. You will stand up in the presence of gray hair, you will honor the person of the aged and fear your God. I am Yahweh. If you have resident aliens in your country, you will not molest them. You will treat resident aliens as though they were native born and love them as yourself, for you yourselves were once aliens in Egypt. I am Yahweh your God. You will not be unjust in administering justice as regards measures of length, weight or capacity. You will have just scales, just weights, a just ephah and a just hin. I am Yahweh your God who brought you out of Egypt, hence you are to keep all my laws and all my customs and put them into practice. I am Yahweh. Single quote.